Hey folks, back with a part 2 Q&A answering your wedding filmmaking questions. Sorry that it's been a while to get this out. Last week I was super busy releasing our wedding filmmaking course. The course is out. I did send an email out, but if you've not seen or received that, I've been having a bit of problems with my email. So if you haven't seen that, the wedding filmmaking course is out now. The link is in the description if you are interested. And if you've had emails from me and you've replied and you've not heard back from me, I've been having issues with my email, so ask me a question on here if you've got any. So that's all live and exciting. But today, answering some more questions, some more wedding filmmaking questions. So we'll get straight into it. The first question I've got is from Dallin Lamarche. I'm a new wedding videographer, so I'm keeping my prices cheap to get clients and improve. How do you coexist with established videographers without undercutting or stealing their clients? I want to make sure I'm promoting the industry as a whole, etc. So what Dallin is asking here is how do you undercut people, basically? How do you undercut other videographers without hurting the industry and annoying people, pissing people off? I love this question, mate. Thank you for asking this. Basically, don't worry. Just do what you've got to do. Charge the prices that you've got to charge. A lot of you will know I'm an advocate of doing free weddings when you're starting. Like, how do I start wedding filmmaking? How do I get a wedding? Do it for free. It works, and it will upset people because people think that's harmful to the industry. But you've got to pay your bills, and you've got to establish. I mean, that's not going to pay your bills, but you've got to establish yourself, and you've got to get set up, and you've got to pay your bills. So if you think you can get more weddings charging £500, and you don't feel like you're ready charging £1,000, or you charge £1,000, you don't feel like you're ready to charge £1,500. Don't feel pressured by the industry and your peers saying that you need to up your prices. Don't listen to other people's opinions. Do what you've got to do for you. You've got bills to pay. You've got a livelihood to think about, and everyone's got different circumstances. Because £1,000 per wedding, doing 30-40 weddings a year, might be a great income for you. For others, it might not be. People have different circumstances. Some people have different expenses and outgoings and mortgages and kids, and other people don't. So everyone's got different lifestyles, and you can charge whatever you want. That's the beauty. It's your business. You get to do that. You get to charge what you want. I'm all for propping everyone up and propping up the industry. There's that saying of when the tide rises, all boats rise, or something like that. So I'm all for propping up everyone, but at the same time, don't worry about charging less than someone else and annoying other videographers. You've got to do what you've got to do. So I would say where you're at, keep your prices cheap and get your clients, and keep improving and upping your price as you go. You've obviously got a game plan, so stick with it and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, and don't let anyone else worry you. Because unfortunately, there are some people in the industry, some artists who think that who charge a lot of money and think that everyone else should be charging money. Otherwise, it's harmful to the industry, and I think that's a very dangerous opinion to project on others, because there's a lot of people starting out, they're intimidated by that. I don't agree with that. So hope that helps. Dan Williams Visuals asks, how do I break into the UK market? So I can help with this because I am from the UK, and I always feel weird about offering advice to the US market and other markets, because at the end of the day, I don't know what their market's like. Everyone's different, but in the UK especially. Well, Dan, we've just talked there about doing free gigs and doing cheap gigs at the start. So if you are at the start of your journey and you want to break into the wedding market, offer to do a free gig, a free wedding find out if there's any friends or family members that getting married. You can do theirs. If you've got friends of friends or people that know people who are getting married, and you can offer your services and go along and get your first one under your belt for free, your first one or two. After that, you've got a wedding to use. You can start charging, and you start charging a few £100, and you just build yourself up from there. Obviously, be posting. Another tip I would say is, when you are starting out, you obviously set up your website, you set up your social media, and you start advertising yourself, don't make out at that stage, when you're right at the beginning, that you are a professional studio company who's been doing it years. You know, I see a lot of people who have just started out, and on their Instagram bio it's like, I'm a wedding filmmaker, I go all over the world, I've been filming hundreds of weddings. And I think you have to be honest. If you're at the start of your journey, be honest and say, I'm a new wedding filmmaker, I'm just getting weddings under my belt, I'm really excited, I'm really enjoying it, and just be honest. Because I think if you're not honest and you try and make out that you're more established than you are, or you use like fake testimonials on your website, I think that stands out a mile. I think people can see through the bullshit. So just be honest about it, and start building your network and start trying to meet local suppliers, dropping into venues and making connections with people in the wedding industry. Do 1 or 2 freebies. That'll get the ball rolling. You'll be flying from there. Louis Rudge. I currently own a Zeiss 55 prime lens, good lens, that I'm using for everything, and I'm looking to get a second lens. Should I go 24mm or an 85mm? So my setup is a 55mm lens as my main camera, on my main camera, and then I have a 24mm on my secondary camera because I want a wide shot. So I think you probably know, Louis, that my answer to that would be to go for the 24. If you like, I only shoot with 2 lenses, 2 cameras, and that works great. But if you're gonna do that approach, you need a relatively tight angle and a relatively wide angle. So the 55 and the 24 work great for me. I used to use an 85 and a 35, but it was always that combination of tighter shot, a wider shot, because you need that wider shot for speeches and for like a wide angle of the ceremony, maybe a wide angle of the first dance or anything like that. So you certainly would be safe with a 24mm. There's I think I use a Samyang 24mm f2, which is a great lens. There's a Sony 25mm, I think, but that's pretty expensive. Or there's the Samyang's, the 35 cine lens was a good one. I've still got one of those. That's a great lens, but the Samyangs are a good cheap route to go down. Brilliant lenses. Neil Collins Films asks, when you say you meet up with couples beforehand, is that regardless of how far away they live? So the question here is, you know, if you're meeting up with couples who are inquiring about the wedding or before the wedding at any point, is it regardless of how far away they live? Should you meet them if they live a million miles away? So what I would do, and I would always advocate meeting couples like when a couple inquires with me, I try to give them as little information as possible in terms of pricing and exactly what they'll get over an email, because I don't like that impersonality. What I try and do is get them on the phone or on a FaceTime or in a meeting face to face. Try and get the couple to come and meet me, and then we can, you know, build a connection and we can get to know each other, and that whole personality comes into play, and it's really important. So if you can, I would always recommend and advocate meeting your couples. Even if you don't meet them when they inquire initially, if they book you, try and meet them before the wedding day itself. You know, when you catch up about a month before to get all the wedding details and the payments and stuff, try and meet up with them then, so at least you've seen them before the wedding day and you get rid of that awkwardness of not having met and turning up on the morning of the wedding. Anyway, so what I would do, Neil, to answer your question, is if they live anywhere within an hour of... I try and encourage couples to come to me, and I'm established enough, and I kind of feel like I have the luxury to say, if you want to meet in person, great, come over. I have a pub down the road from me, a really nice, quiet little pub. It's got a countryside kind of feel. We can just sit in a little corner, get some drinks in, and it's really, because I know that pub, I can control the environment and I can manage where we meet, and I know it's a nice location and it's professional. So because I'm a bit more established, and I kind of feel like I've earned the right to have the couples come to me, so I always suggest that they come over to me, and I say, oh, there's this lovely little pub near me, you're welcome to come over, we'll get some drinks and we'll go from there. So most couples are willing to, if they live within an hour or so from you, then either get them to come to you, or if it's within an hour, drive to them, or meet somewhere halfway. If they live like 2 hours away from you, a 2 hour drive away from you, then maybe meet in the middle. That might be fair. You know, at the start, I spent a lot of time driving to my couples to make it as easy as possible for them. So if you are meeting couples, you can make that hurdle easier for them by, you know, you doing the distance and going to meet them. Like I say, if they are within like an hour drive away, I wouldn't go mad. If they're about 2 hours away, you can meet halfway and try and suggest somewhere, a halfway point, but always do your research on where you're going to meet. Try and find a nice hotel or a posh bar or pub or something, somewhere quiet you can talk. The last thing you want to do is turn up at some random pub on the side of the road that you don't know, and it's packed and it's busy and it's loud. This is the thing about controlling the environment of where you meet people. If the other side of the country, obviously we don't meet firsthand unless they are willing to come to me, which would be great. But then your options are FaceTime, Skype. Try and get them on video. If you can't meet them in person, get them on video chat, and at least then you can see each other and you can have, you know, more or less that same connection. It's not quite the same as meeting in person, but it's a good second best. Like at the minute with the situation we're in, I'm contacting couples and potential couples via FaceTime and Skype because we're on lockdown. So, okay, last question. I don't want this to drag on too much. Lewis Adger asks, how do you balance working full-time and doing videography on the side? I want to go full-time. This is the big one that a lot of people have when you've started doing videography and started doing weddings, and then you get to the point where you want to quit your day job and do it full time, because that's the goal. If you get into it and you love doing it, then you want to make it your full-time job and quit the day job. Absolutely. What I would say is, again, it goes back to the first question about everyone's financial situations being completely different. When I started, I was living at home with my mum's. I lived at home with parents, and I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a partner to worry about at the time. I had very little outgoings, and I didn't need that much money to survive and live off. So for me, once I'd got, 20 weddings under my belt for the year, and I had X amount of money coming in, I knew that was more than enough to live off and go out with my mates on a weekend, and I didn't need to worry about that loss of income from a day job. So it's all about your personal situation and weighing up how much you've got. If you've, like, at this point of the year, not this year because this year's weird, but at this point of any year, if you've got enough weddings coming up over the summer and going into the autumn, and you've got, say you've got 30 weddings, you're charging 1,200 quid, you've got about 30, 40 grand coming in there, minus your expenses and stuff. Be sensible with your numbers. But you know that you only need 15,000, 20,000 pound to live off for that year. Then you've got more than enough money coming in from your wedding business to cover your living. You don't need your day job. Or vice versa, you might only have a few weddings and you need the day job and you've got to stick it out. But also, if you're starting getting going and the wheels are starting to turn with your wedding business, and you've only got a few weddings booked for this summer, but you're starting to get more bookings for the following year, and the deposits are starting to come in, and the more that you go out and shoot weddings, the more portfolio you'll have, and the more. So if you can kind of project that you think it's going to build up to the point where you will be able to quit your job, do you take that gamble and risk before you know for certain? What I would do is look at like a 6-month window. If you've got enough wedding bookings in to cover you for 6 months, then you can quit the day job, because in that 6 months you should be doing everything that you can to promote and push yourself and get more work in anyway. If you've got enough weddings in over the next 6 months to quit the day job, you can reasonably assume that within that 6 months you will then book some more weddings and you'll be able to keep it going from there. So that's kind of my advice on a financial level. Now, in terms of the physicality of doing it, you're working full time, you're working, like, let's say for argument's sake, you're doing a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, Monday to Friday. That's a full-time job. when do you fit in you working on your business and your wedding videography and editing time and weddings and stuff? Now, if you are doing a Monday to Friday 9 to 5, then you can shoot weddings on Saturday and Sunday, and you can edit in the evenings. Now, this is you might be thinking, well, that sounds like a lot of work, but if you want to break away from the day job and become a full-time wedding videographer, you do have to put in the work. It's going to be a lot of hours, and it's not easy, and you're going to have to put in the work. So if you're doing an 8, 9, 10-hour work day from your normal job, then you come home, that's 10 hours out of your day. Say you sleep for 8 hours, that's 18 hours. You've got 6 hours left in your day. I'm not saying spend all those 6 hours every day on editing, but you might spend 2 hours a day on editing or working on your business. You know, might do your day job, come home, chill out for a bit, then have 2 hours at the desk, then go to bed. Or you might have 1 or 2 days a week where you do 4 or 5 hours at night, and then a couple of days where you don't do anything. You've just got to balance it as best you can. And then this is the thing, that everyone's in different situations. I don't want to preach to those there's people who are out there who are single parents working 60 hours a week, then coming home and looking after a kid, and then somehow finding the time to edit and work on a wedding business and shoot weddings and etc. And yeah, I know people that do that, and I can't imagine how, but every credit, I tip my hat to them, because that's proper work ethic and hustle. So yeah, I would spend, you know, if this is really what you want and this is really what you want to do, and you've got to cut out a bit of Netflix time, you've got to cut out a bit of leisure time, you maybe have to give up a day of your weekend. You know, you might have a partner and kids who you want to spend time with, but you might have to say, look, we'll do a family day on the Saturday, and on Sunday you need to give me half a day where I can spend on my business, because I need to do that. And you've just got to sacrifice some things to make the time to do the videography. If in your case, you know, you're working a full-time job and you're busy, and you're kind of stressed out about when you're going to find the time to work on your business and shoot weddings, you've just got to make sacrifices and try and get that balance right. We're all, you know, that work-life balance, that if there was an answer, then I would love to give it. Yeah, I hope that helps at least, because everyone's situation is different, and you've really just got to be honest with yourself and look at your situation and your financial situation and weigh up, have I got 6 months of income to last me? Can I quit the job and use that 6 months to generate more work? I think a 6-month period is a good amount of time to give yourself in order to get yourself going. So we'll call it there. I have got a few more questions that came in last time that I'm going to save for a part 3, and I'll do another video. But if you have any more questions to add, and you want to ask some questions relating to wedding videography or business or whatever, drop them in the comments below. I hope this video was helpful. If you've got any more questions about anything I've talked about, let me know. And yes, thanks for watching. I hope you're all doing super well and staying safe and all that, and I'll see you very soon.